I'll do my goat. I probably played this song up here every time that I've been here since I wrote it. And I'll go and tell the story one more time in case anybody didn't get it the last couple of 6 or 8 times. I was at the auto parts store where I got me a part-time job, and this guy comes in and he wants me to help him get his lawnmower running. And I said I didn't know much about lawnmowers, and he didn't care. So I went out to the parking lot where he had his lawnmower, and I kicked it a couple of times, and I couldn't get it started either. And I told him, I said, why don't you go down to the auction, livestock auction, buy yourself a goat, and take that goat, throw it out in your yard, and he'll eat up all your grass, and you ain't got to worry about cutting it then. And he looked like he, stumbled onto something real clever, and I thought I was being smart, and he went away. And so I was happy. And then about 2 or 3 weeks later, I ran into him on the street, and he looked real sad. And I said, what's wrong, man? How's things going? And he just looked at me and he said, well, my goat is drinking himself to death. He's just so unhappy since his nanny goat left. See him stagger around the yard, 80 proof whiskey on his breath. And my goat is drinking himself to death. He started out eating the grass and the weeds, and everything seemed just fine to me. But then he ate the ignition wires off of a tractor, and I started thinking this was an intestinal disaster. Somehow he managed to, he'd linked a barbed wire and a clothesline and a couple truck tires, and he ate all the bark from a live oak tree, and then he walked in the house as easy as you please. He ate the rug that ran the length of the hall, and he ate the paper right off the walls, and he ate the picture above the mantelpiece, and he ate the screen from in front of the fireplace. He started drinking hard late in the early afternoon when he got tired of chewing on the coffee stirring spoon. He finished off a case of Budweiser brew and some peppermint schnapps and Jack Daniels too. And now my goat is drinking himself to death. He's just so unhappy since his nanny goat left. See him stagger around the yard, 80 proof whiskey on his breath. And my goat is drinking himself to death. Well, he didn't care much for peach-flavored brandy, and Crown and Coke seemed to make him randy, 'cause he mistook the Basset Hound for his lost lady love, but luckily couldn't deliver when push come to shove. He ate my favorite hat, my only pair of overalls, and did jello shots while I sat naked in the hall. He ate the radio and the TV remote too, and now whenever he belches I get the 6 o'clock news. And my goat is drinking himself to death. He's just so unhappy since his nanny goat left. See him stagger around the yard, 80 proof whiskey on his breath. And my goat is drinking himself to death. Well, it's a good thing that I do live alone, 'cause that blast goat ate me out of house and home. His uncontrollable appetite and insatiable thirst only get started when you think you've seen the worst. The last time I saw him, he was down at the LogOn cafe. He was drinking a Smirnoff Ice and reminiscing about the good old days. Some friends gave him some literature on Alcoholics Anonymous. He just chewed it up and ate it and chased it with a beer. Oh, my goat is drinking himself to death. He's just so unhappy since his nanny goat left. See him stagger around the yard, 80 proof whiskey on his breath. And my goat is drinking himself to death. Yeah, my goat is drinking himself to death. Thank you. That's going to cost me a fortune in quarters.